CFB Paint back for our Week 3 preview. Now, I'm going to make sure that we timestamp this video. We are recording this Monday, September 11th. Just kind of, we don't do this professionally. We would love to at some point, but right now it's a hobby, and so we got to find time for it where we can. So looking ahead to the week, so there may not be injury updates. Point spreads might change between now and then, so keep that in mind as you're listening. This will likely be released, I think, Thursday, maybe Friday. But thanks for listening. Feel free to give us a like, subscribe to us on whatever platform that you follow the podcast on. Really appreciate all the support we're getting. And yeah, hit us up on our socials. We can incorporate some of your thoughts into our programming. Let's jump into it. Week 3, we looked at the slate, Corey. We said, like, you know what, if there's a week where you have to do some sort of home improvement project, or if you want to like visit a pumpkin patch or do some sort of fall activity,
or if heaven forbid someone has scheduled a wedding on that day, better be this day.
Yeah, this would be the least damaging for sure, or at least at a glance. And it looks like, get all that out of the way, because it looks like week 4 might be stay glued to the tube the entire day, because it looks like there might be wall-to-wall really good games. But let's jump into it. We're going to preview a handful of games that we kind of picked throughout the weekend. Let's jump in. Navy at Memphis.
The line's not favoring Memphis, the line's 14.5 favoring Memphis. Navy did not look impressive to me. They haven't quite figured out what. I mean, I'm clearly picking Memphis. Do they cover? Yeah, I think they cover.
I do too.
It's at home, so
minus 14.5, Memphis. I think so too. I think they've got some of their offense figured out finally under Ryan Silverfield as their head coach. I think that's a pretty solid team. And I think that Navy will struggle defensively. So I like them to cover that spread. With Navy's offense, I don't know if I would touch the point total. So my guess is that Memphis wins. Memphis, I think, will cover the 2 touchdowns plus the hook. I don't know. Do we want to just like go point by point? I don't know. Some of these games I think we'll probably have more analysis on. These first few, perhaps not as much. Virginia at Maryland. I'll bite on this one. Give me Maryland and the points. They're at home. 14-point favorite over Virginia. I think that's a sucker's bet. Like, come on. Of course they're going to score. They're going to outscore Virginia by 2 touchdowns. I think that one's pretty easy.
They struggled with Charlotte, and I wouldn't say. I'd say Virginia and Charlotte might be comparable.
Fair.
I just can't see it happening again his brother to what is it, Talia? Talia. Had 2 interceptions.
Everyone calls him Talia like he's like a Russian woman. It drives me crazy. Yeah. Talia.
Yeah. He had 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions last week. I don't see him having as hard a time. I think that they can get going back in the right direction. Cover the 14. The 15.5 is interesting to me, because you're looking at, like, if you do the math, that's what it's a 32 to 20. I can't do the math off the top of my head. A 32 to 18 game.
Yeah, something like that.
Give me the under on that one. So,
Oh, okay. All right. I don't know. I think there's a bounce back game for Maryland in that one. Here's an interesting one. Army at UTSA. Did you see the UTSA versus Texas State game?
Yeah, they won that one.
I saw highlights, but it was really low scoring. Was the part that was really interesting. 2 teams that I think, you know, particularly Texas State, known for their offensive kind of explosion in week 1 against Baylor, and their head coach is an offensive coach by trade, and both of those teams like were in a slugfest. So interesting. This one is Army UTSA minus 11 against Army with a total of 46. I don't know if I have a play in this game. I think UTSA will win. If I'm a betting man, I would say Army probably covers, I think, but that one's one that's not going to be an official pick of mine.
Yeah, I'm looking at. I mean, how's Army been this year? Even they're 1-1. They put 57 on Delaware State. Yeah, okay. Box score, or I'm gonna pull them up real quick. Who's their win on week 1?
Um, sorry, I don't have it right in front of me either. Give me just a second. I can.
I just didn't know if you knew off the top of your head. I'm pulling it up right now.
I don't not right off the top of my head.
They lost to Louisiana Monroe 17-13. So a little bit of dichotomy there.
Yeah,
I think this UTSA team is going to be interesting to watch because they did lose their offensive coordinator to Oregon,
yeah, that's where he's at.
and so like they were in good shape, but like where do they go? I mean, their quarterback's thrown for 423 yards and 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. But they like, leaned a little bit on the run with their running back covering 206 yards in the 2 games. So give me UTSA to win, Army to cover the spread.
Okay, that going down on your actual card is like an
Every time
official.
I'm not betting any actual money, so yeah, go put it out on my.
Yeah. All right. All right. Okay. Okay. We're sticking with Friday here. There's an additional game. This one is actually one that I will pay attention to. Utah State at Air Force. These two teams often find themselves at the top of the Mountain West in the last little bit. They've been pretty competitive teams. This one in Colorado Springs. Air Force is a 9-point favorite, 47 point total. I like the Falcons. I like them a lot. Give me
Yeah,
Falcons to win and to cover.
yeah. You and Mark love your guys' military schools. But no, the Air Force. I think I agree. I think
I
they're
just
going
think
to Utah State. Utah State struggled with they lost to Iowa already earlier this year, and then they struggled with somebody else, didn't they?
yeah, let's see. Let's get them in front of me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have it off the top of my head either. But yeah, give me a
Yeah. Oh, so they beat Idaho State.
yeah. Oh yeah, they beat Idaho State. They clobbered them, didn't they? Wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Still short
Ooh.
week to prepare for uh the triple option, and I think that they lost quite a bit of defenders out of the transfer portal that may
Yeah.
have helped them in this game. I like the Falcons.
I'm gonna go the opposite side. I'm gonna go Utah State to cover the points, not to win.
All right. All right. Close game for who can get the early leg up in the Mountain West
Yeah,
in the conference race there. I think these are mostly in order, so we're shifting now to the Saturday slate.
they are.
Florida State at Boston College. Boston College is a 27.5 point underdog. Red handkerchief game, though. They always play that game tough. It's interesting that it's the red handkerchief game, but also being played at noon. Usually that's a night game, and I don't care who you are, you're terrified to go and play in Boston College during Red Bandana game. And this year, it's like during the week of 9/11. So it's to me is a little bit like I think they should do it maybe closer to that day in memorial of. Now I'm going to forget his name, the actual student. I'll pull that up. But
Yeah.
what do you think about this game? Where do you see this one playing out?
This Boston College team is not a good team. Like they are a 2-3 win team at most, in my opinion. Give me Florida State to cover. Give me Florida State to play 84 players in this game.
There you go.
They play
Are they traveling with?
but
I was gonna say, well, how many are traveling since this one's on the road?
give me
That's
everybody that travels to play.
everyone that makes a travel roster. It's Wells Crowther.
That's right.
It was the Boston College student that obviously was a hero on 9/11. Really, really awesome story. I love how Boston College has kind of embraced that and made that part of their traditions for their football team.
It is really cool.
Yeah. Plus 4 touchdowns. I think they're going to do that. The one thing that makes me worried is maybe like a backdoor cover if you end up seeing lots of Florida State players. If you're going with the fourth string QB and you're playing them as early as I think you might, Boston College could end up scoring on your third string defense a couple of times and maybe making it closer than it actually was.
And honestly, give me the over too. I mean, 55 points is not very much. Florida State might cover that themselves.
All right. So, sorry, I'm going to get down that I'm taking FSU minus 27.5. Okay.
So
Cool.
the score on that one, the score they're guessing is like 42-15 or so. Like,
I don't know. If Florida State can score 45 on LSU, they're going to score more than that on
yeah,
Boston College. I don't care that it's on the road.
I don't think Boston College will score 14 though. I think Boston College scores 10.
Yeah, fair.
So
All right. Again, kind of a weak slate, so we're going to kind of move rapid fire through the rest of these. Louisville, Indiana is a really interesting non-conference game. Louisville had a kind of back and forth affair with Georgia Tech in week 1, got right against Murray State 56-0 in week 2. Indiana hung pretty tough with Ohio State for a good bit in that ball game, and then beat Indiana State, I think it was 45-7 if memory serves me right on the final score there. So
41-7.
I'm struggling. 41-7. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what Indiana is. I feel like I'm starting to get a good beat on what Louisville can be. But Indiana had an awesome defensive effort against Ohio State. It's in Bloomington. I don't know if I want to make a play against the spread, but I am going to take the under 54 points.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because what they're saying right now is about like a 35-25 game. Or 34-24 game. Ooh, yeah. The line at 10 is would be rough for me. I might take Indiana to cover the line if I was going to do that. The over under, I have no idea on that one. I'm not pretending like I have a clue.
I like Indiana's defense.
Actually, if I'm leaning away, I'd go over. But I feel like these teams have the athletes to go do something good enough.
Yeah, well, my thought process is Indiana is not very good on offense, right? They're not going to score a ton of points. But I like their defense. I think their defense, if it's not going to give up, but 21 points to Ohio State, do I think Louisville's going to get more? I don't. I don't think Louisville is better at the wide receiver position. I don't think they're better at quarterback, even though Kyle McCord's kind of had an up and down, kind of rocky start to the season. That's the thought process there. I think Louisville will probably cover the spread, but 54 points might be a little much. And Indiana's defense is pretty salty. I was pretty impressed with how they played at Ohio State. Can they get that same kind of effort against Louisville? I think so. All right, this is a fun one, just because Penn State, Illinois, Big Ten cross division game at Illinois. Illinois has kind of had a really odd start to the season where they almost lost to Toledo and then made it interesting against Kansas, but lost still. I don't know what to make of everything that's going on there. Penn State traveling. I think their first time away from Happy Valley this year, if memory serves me right.
I think that's right.
What's your take on this game? What?
It could be a trap game, but I don't expect Penn State to fall on this one. Penn State struggled with West Virginia a little bit, but it's kind of like, are we getting I think they're trying to get it used to a new quarterback and kind of see how things are going. Give me Penn State to win and cover.
I'm taking Penn State against the spread as well, so give me that. I also think potentially they could run away from this game or run away from Illinois, and it could go over, but I don't think that's my choice. But I'm not calling that.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose on the total there, I think that game goes over. I don't know if you had any other thoughts on that one.
Nah, the over under, I have no idea because you're looking at I can't do my math, so what like a 32-21 kind of game, a 32-18 kind of game again.
Yeah.
Less. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Luke Altmaier is going to be running for his life. Is the thing, and he's going to be running for his life against athletes that that are faster than the ones that he's had to do that with in the first 2 weeks. So that's where I feel pretty confident. Even though Penn State first time on the road, Drew Aller first time starter on the road, I think they're going to be just fine.
It's a noon game too, so it's not like it's going to be rough.
That's true. All right, more cowbell as we go from from Champaign, Illinois to Stark Vegas in Mississippi. Mississippi State, the Bulldogs hosting LSU. They host as 10-point underdogs as of this point. I don't know. What do you think about? What do you make of this game?
I don't know what to make of LSU yet. I mean, you played Grambling, you kind of struggled at the beginning, and then you finished them out like 73 something, whatever else. So it was a little slow. But like, can LSU get up to its potential? I mean, I think they could potentially. They should beat this team by more than 10, in my opinion. But I think the line's probably gone lower since they lost to Florida State in such convincing fashion. Like, how really good is this team? I think the issue is like, can Mississippi State pass the ball against these defensive backs? Like, that's the issue. The thing to me, I would never touch this if I was actually betting real money. I would never touch this with a 10-foot pole because I want to see what LSU defensive backs really are like against a quarterback that isn't in the running for Heisman and potentially has 2 first rounders or 2 draftable wide receivers at the helm. I'm interested to see how it does against a normal Power 5 team. So I would not.
Yeah, this one's interesting to me because like this opened as I think LSU plus 7.5 or minus 7.5, excuse me, and then quickly got bet up to about 10. So I don't know what to make of that. I think there may be a little bit of an overreaction to Mississippi State playing a close game against Arizona. But also Mississippi State was the beneficiary. Arizona had 3 ricocheted passes that were picked off, I think. So I don't know if you saw that game. That was an interesting game. Again, I've got kind of a soft spot in my heart for Arizona. Just like I think Jed Fish is doing some things there, and especially if his players weren't being poached right and left by USC, like they'd be well ahead of where they are.
Yeah.
But so I think that there's some of that in the works here. Also, I think LSU knows that they need this win. I mean, that's the softest of soft factors, but I think the LSU game or the LSU season rather has turned the last 2 years on the Mississippi State game, which always seems to be their first conference game. If you'll remember the in Orgeron's last season, they lost to LSU or they lost to Mississippi State kind of in surprising fashion, and then last year they won this game. A lot of people were Mississippi State was a trendy upset pick in that game against LSU last year, and LSU ran away from them at the end of the year, or at the end of the game rather, and it really kind of was the springboard for LSU to kind of really have some traction during conference play. I'm right there with you. This is one that I don't really want to touch because I could see LSU running away with this game. I could also see them really struggling on the road. Again, it's a unique environment there in Starkville, and their defensive backs are pretty suspect. And Will Rogers is not a bad QB. I'd be interested to see how their wide receivers match up, but I think this game could get squirrely. So
Well, and also how you use Harold Perkins in that game.
that's true. Yeah, you got to retool what's going on there. So I don't have a pick for this one. Like I'll just go on record saying I think I like Mississippi State to cover the 10.5. I think, but there's a lot of variance in which way this one can go. This is to me one of the more exciting games of the weekend, and it kicks it off. It's a noon kick, so it'll be a kind of a fun one to start the day. We're going to stay in the SEC, but we're going to go to the East and talk Kansas State, Missouri. Now, this game was played last year, and Kansas State ran all over Missouri, right? It was not a close game. Now they have to do the return trip to Columbia and face the Tigers. And currently, to me, a little surprising, Missouri is only a 5.5-point dog.
Brandon Cook is their quarterback. He's looked okay. I mean, but I'm K State. Give me the over. Give me the cover. I think they run away with this weekend. I'm a big Will Howard fan. I think he is a good quarterback, and I think they have a running team. Like the running back. What's his name? Oh,
I'm not Trayshawn Ward the other.
yeah, Trayshawn hasn't been getting the majority of the carries.
I can't remember his name. Hang on, I'll get it.
He's looked very impressive. I'm trying to think what his name is.
Yeah, I've got it. Give me just 1 second here. His name is DJ Giddens.
Yeah, DJ Giddens. It looks
Mm-hmm.
like Trayshawn got majority carries last week, but again, that was against Troy. But the week before that, he did not.
Yeah, good 1-2 punch there. Again, across this over the season, both have 27 carries. DJ Giddens has 180 yards for a 6.7 yards per carry average. Trayshawn Ward, 27 carries, 114 yards for 4.2 average. So, yeah, two pretty solid backs. The one thing that surprises me is just again the line seems low to me. Like I figured that spread would be further, and so sometimes that gives me pause where it's like I think maybe someone knows something that I don't, but I'm choosing this game. I think Kansas State will win going away. Like I think that they're going to be able to win this game by at least I think 2 scores. So I think that they end up winning by anywhere between 10 and 14, and with a potential to even kind of make that more lopsided. So I'm right there with you on that. I don't know if I'm going to join you on the over because they're going to run the ball a lot.
Yeah, Will Howard, he might throw too. You never know. He threw for like 300 yards last
That's
week.
true. That's true.
So,
Let's see. Any other thoughts on that game? I love this one just from a cross for being an out of conference game. That's the word I'm looking for. One that I don't think.
So were you gonna jump on the
No,
next
go
one?
ahead. No, I was just gonna say with the same one with Kansas State and Missouri, it's like for being like relatively like close to one another in location. I don't know how many times these two teams. I guess they were in the Big 12 together, but I guess yeah. So I guess sorry, I'll walk that back. But it's just like this was not a game that I remember being played a ton. So I'm kind of excited to see them lace them up once again.
I'm just interested to see another interconference game where the SEC takes a loss, which is kind of like it's been a lot this year.
Yeah, it's kind of par for the course at this point. I think they're
But like,
3-6 in other Power 5 games right now.
wow, that's
Yikes!
insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not good.
And your wins are against who? Like Virginia, Tennessee beat Virginia. Who else beat? Who else did they beat?
Auburn barely beat Cal,
Oh, Auburn beat Cal. Yeah.
and I
And
can't remember what the other one is.
oh,
Now I'm gonna.
Mississippi State against Arizona.
That's it. Yep. So yeah, not no real victory to hang your hat on if you're the Southeastern Conference.
Who did Arizona
At
State
least
play
not yet.
last week?
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. I knew there was another team that came over from there. So yeah. On the next one,
South Carolina at Georgia. Um, Gamecocks on the road with that offensive line and the crowd that will probably be at Sanford Stadium. Again, Sanford Stadium I don't think is like a house of horrors by any stretch, but like this is one of few opportunities that they're going to be there to see like a team that had some buzz going into the off. Like, you know, outside of Tennessee, which that one's on the road. Like this might be the best home game that Georgia has. Is it?
I have no idea off the top of my head.
Let me just pull up their schedule real quick, because I think that's one of those things where it's like, all right, it may not be an awesome environment, or you wouldn't normally expect it, but they have, yeah, this is going to be their best game at home. So they're home against South Carolina, home against UAB, at Auburn, home against Kentucky, at Vanderbilt, Florida at a neutral site, home against Missouri, home against Ole Miss, so maybe that one, at Tennessee, at Georgia Tech. So it's like, what other games are you getting up for if you're a Georgia fan that are at home? Like,
At the same time,
I
how
got
drunk
Georgia.
can you get at 1:30 in the afternoon?
How what?
How drunk can you get before 1:30 in the afternoon? So
You'd be surprised. It
Steven
just takes some dedication.
there.
Uh, I
I choose to roll your
past that. We're moving on past that. I got Georgia. I got them covering. I can't even remember what the score of this game was last year, but it was not. They blasted them. Like 27 is way too low. Give me the Bulldogs. I don't care if they've had slow starts on offense. They'll get it rolling eventually. This one will be out of hand. and midway through the third quarter, you're going to see the backups start to come into the game for Georgia.
Give me South Carolina to cover and the over.
Wow. All right. What are you seeing from South Carolina that gives you that kind of confidence?
Not the offensive line, just the quarterback. I think Smith Rattler can dissect it enough that he might have a chance to be successful there. So,
all right. I feel like I missed one or two of my plays. I'm writing them down so I can track this, but I'll go back and listen to the episode. That's what I'll do. Another fun kind of out of conference matchup: Minnesota at North Carolina. North Carolina again barely escaping App State. -7.5 is the line. I mean, can Minnesota throw the football? Can Minnesota do anything in this game?
That's mean, Steven.
I'm asking. I didn't say they can. I think they can, but
you think they can?
I think they cannot. Sorry, can't.
They've had quarterbacks thrown for 313 yards in over 2 games and 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown. And now they have Leighton lead on the run, and they are 2-0, but it's against a
Nebraska.
Yeah, which that was an ugly game. Nebraska did everything they could to lose that, and then Eastern Michigan, where you didn't even score 30 points. Yeah, give me North Carolina to cover this pretty easily. What's the over-under?
Same.
49? Yeah, anytime Nebraska's in a game, or North Carolina's in a game, give me over 50.
Oh, you're going to take the over too?
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I want to touch the total. I think, the play style here may help dictate that that's a lower scoring affair. Here's an interesting one: Washington at Michigan State. We talked about this a little bit on our last episode, where there's maybe interest in this game just outside of football, just with Mel Tucker now being suspended without pay, and kind of lots of rumors swirling and statements being put out. What happens to Michigan State? Like, how do they rally the troops? Do they rally the troops?
Yeah, I would say they don't. Like, there's nothing you can do to save this ship. It was already headed in the wrong direction before this happened. It's going to be in the wrong direction. I always am worried about West Coast teams traveling East Coast. They just seem to struggle sometimes, but this is Washington team is not what I'm worried about. And yeah, give me Washington to cover.
So 16 points.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if we ever actually said the number. 16 points.
I'm like, yeah,
58 point total. I'm pretty sure most of that's going to be Washington. Yeah, I am also on Washington to cover that game. Here, this is another one. Tennessee at Florida. Last year, back and forth affair. Second half, Tennessee stretched out a little bit of a lead, but Anthony Richardson with some late game heroics and some fortunate bounces gave them an opportunity to heave a Hail Mary and try and win the game, or try and force overtime. I can't remember exactly. I think it must have been to like force overtime, or maybe they were down 7. So if they score, you've got the option to either kick the extra point or go for 2 and go for the win. It just feels like these two teams maybe have gone in opposite directions since that game, but Tennessee's looked a little vulnerable early this year. So they are touchdown favorites in the Swamp with a total of 57.5. I don't know how you see this game playing out.
So I'll be frank, I didn't watch Florida's last game. Did you watch it at all?
Versus McNeese? No.
Yeah. I'm going to say Florida cleans up their stuff, and I'm going to say they win this one.
I think this game is close. I agree with that. I don't know if I really want to pick against the spread. I will go that I'm going to take the under in the game.
I definitely go that. I would lean that way. I'm not going to pick against the over-under, but I'm picking Florida to win.
Yeah, I think really the name of the game here is Florida's going to try and shorten the game. I think that's going to be their method, their MO for the rest of the season is control the game, run the ball. I mean, things that we've seen from Billy Napier, but I think it just has to have been further emphasized to them that they can't afford to go down too many scores. And so by shortening the game and limiting the number of possessions, they're going to find themselves in tighter games just by virtue of uh, whoever they're playing against won't have enough possessions to really run away from them.
Well,
So I
and
think
also
that
like
you're going to see that.
think about
Yeah, go
like
ahead.
they played Utah. Utah scored a bunch of points early on, and then Florida's defense clamped down, and they didn't do anything in the second half. I'm wondering, is this the real Florida defense? Will the Florida defense keep them in the game here and then give them a chance to win? So
Yeah, I think so. And I could see it. It's one of those ones where Florida needs a win in the worst way. I think the win against McNeese State doesn't erase the sour taste, and I feel like they're still kind of the vibe I get around Florida fans right now is that they are still nervous about this year, and that the team needs a boost. So I expect that to be a raucous environment that Tennessee is going to come into. Obviously, it's a rivalry game, of course, but I think this is one where the entire Gator Nation feels like whatever we can do to help pull out a win is gonna, they're gonna do. So,
yeah, and
um,
it's a 5 o'clock game. People plenty drunk. There's some people that talk that Florida's during their heyday is one of the loudest stadiums they've ever been in. So
yeah, and it's an impressive facility. I remember going to it, and I remember saying like, okay, this is a huge place. And I think just the structure, the architecture of it allows it to be loud. It is a little bit more upright
yeah,
than a few other stadiums that I've been to. So like it just contains that noise, I think, a little bit better. Um, so yeah, that's one that again we talked about this being kind of a quiet week. This is one of the ones that I will be tuning into to see what Joe Milton shows up on the road. Is he the guy who's throwing passes 8 feet over wide receivers' heads, or is he the one that was pretty dialed in their bowl game last year against Clemson and looked pretty sharp? Uh, he's got a cannon of an arm. It's just unlocking it and being able to consistently distribute the ball is kind of the name of the game there for the Volunteers. Um, all right, BYU, Arkansas. Number one, just a fun clash of cultures. I was at this game last year, and there were tons of Arkansas fans around. Not tons where we were sitting, but there were some where it's just like, man, they. It makes me laugh just thinking about it. It's like these are clearly just different. We come from different worlds, right? Like just totally different worlds, and that's kind of how it played out on the field too. Not a whole lot of defense played last year. I'm imagining we'll see a bit more this year. The point total kind of indicates that they expect a little bit more defense to be played this year than last year. KJ Jefferson's back, um, and BYU is a totally different team from last year, and it has maybe yet to impress really on the season. A 14-0 win against Sam Houston. Uh, and so that wasn't maybe the most impressive game. I think they won 41-10 at Southern Utah. I'm not sure what to make of that. But then Arkansas has also struggled as well, where you see like they only ended up winning, I think, 28-6 against Kent State, and that game was a one-score game at halftime. This one's a wild card for me. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this one. So I'm excited to see it played out, but I don't know what to think of it.
yeah, we have a number of family members going to this game, so
Oh
they'll
yeah,
enjoy it. Um,
will they?
I mean, they'll just enjoy being at the game. I feel like Arkansas is
Oh
going to win this game easily, and I think they covered the 10. But yeah, what do you make of these two teams? KJ Jefferson's thrown for 382 yards across 2 games for 5 touchdowns, but they haven't really ran the ball very much, and so it's like, what are they going to do? Give me Arkansas to cover.
yeah, I think that's where I lean to. It's to me is just a question of okay, how long can BYU's run defense hold up? I think that they're decent at certain areas. Like I like them at linebacker. I don't love the defensive line. Um, and that to me is the problem is like if your defensive line, it doesn't even have to like push or like reset the line of scrimmage in the backfield. It just needs to keep your linebackers clean so that they can make plays because you've got a couple of really good ones. Um, I just have a hard time seeing it. I was there at the game last year, like I mentioned, and Arkansas just had athletes that BYU didn't. And so I think I'm also with you on BYU, or excuse me, Arkansas to cover. But this is another one where I could just see this. I could see this being a really ugly game and BYU getting in a field goal fest with Arkansas. If it's a field position game, Ryan Rico, the BYU punter, is an absolute weapon. Like, I don't know if you've seen what that guy can do. He is insane. He's an awesome punter. And it's, when you're bragging about your punter, that probably means your football team isn't very good. So sorry to those that, that are a fan of that team. But if it becomes that type of a game where it's that close and and it's a defensive slugfest, I may give the edge to them winning the field position battle. But again, I'm not going down with an official pick on this, but I think I lean toward Arkansas covering because they just have, I think, the horses. All right, let's move on. We got just a couple others that we want to pick. In the, like, I guess maybe what would we call this? The disappointments bowl or something like that. We've got TCU traveling on the road to play Houston, and they are traveling and they are a 7.5-point favorite against the Cougars. Even this one, this feels like it should be a layup for TCU, but I just don't know. Like, they haven't done anything that really has impressed me, but Houston's looked especially poor. So what do I make of this?
I mean, TCU put up 42 against Colorado. They were just outscored 45-42 by something that nobody knew what to expect. I mean, you can go look at the Kent State.
True.
The Kent State. Sean Lewis is from Kent State, right?
Yeah.
You can go look at the Kent State film, but you're not going to get exactly what's going on here. And then they put up 41 against I don't even know what that school is.
Nicholls State, yeah.
So I expect them to be able to outscore Rice. I expect you probably win by 7 would be the line I would guess. I'm going to take just hair over that over. Or sorry, just have them cover for a little bit. So maybe they could win by 10. But give me the over on that. 62. I think this is probably going to be like a 42-32 kind of game. 42-35 kind of game.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be a whole lot of defense being played. That's a good point. So I think I'm going to join you there. I'm going to just piggyback. It wasn't on like my card. It's like, yes, I'm definitely going to play this, but I'm going to take that one with you. Give me the over on the point total.
I mean, both teams, their average yardage allowed is 400 plus yards, and they both won one game and lost one game. So it's like you're allowing 400 yards, even in wins, that you're kind of going through. So.
All right, the last one. I think this one's probably a pretty clear. All right. Well, maybe before I tip my hand too much, Colorado State at Colorado. The Rocky Mountain Showdown, I believe, is the name of that rivalry.
Yeah, we all know Steve's going to pick Colorado State to cover because they're such a great team. Now, I think we're both on the board that Colorado is going to dominate this game. ESPN's just going there to have fun because they get to go be part of the Dion show. And
well, I mean, where else are you going to go, right?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, I guess like LSU at Mississippi State maybe was a candidate, but LSU lost. Florida at Tennessee maybe was a candidate, but Florida lost. Like, the SEC didn't hold up its end of the bargain.
Yep.
So I don't know where else you would go.
And it's one of the few times that they can take a. Do they have that game on TV, or does Fox have it?
Let's take a look. I'm not sure.
They might be able to take that game because they have it on their screen. Because normally,
it's an ESPN game.
Yeah, so normally Colorado plays on Fox, and so it makes sense to go there when you can.
Yeah, and do it early in the season while Colorado's still undefeated. I think, after that they've got Oregon and USC back to back. So I think they might lose a little bit of their luster. I suspect that they might, drop a couple games. Again, that's not me throwing shade. I think that they're well ahead of where they ought to be. But give me Colorado to cover the 22.5. I think they've just got athletes that Colorado State does not. And that one to me feels like a pretty safe play.
So you have all our tallies up, Steve, for this game.
I don't have all of yours. Sorry,
No worries.
I was
What
keeping
we
track
should
of
do is
my
we should get the
own.
tallies out, and we'll actually try and do it for next week and say, all right, this is how we did.
Yeah, no, I'll even compile this once I listen to it and put it somewhere so that yeah, so that listeners can at least keep track and see like how bad is Steve losing after a week that he had a big time heater. How bad does he crash and burn on the second week here? Um, Already I'm looking at some. I'm like, I don't do I really think that? But I'm sticking with him,
If you
sticking
get
to
a
my
chance to
guns.
do, you always make poor decisions.
I don't know. Sometimes my impulse decisions are pretty poor too. Uh, but anyway, we'll go ahead and we'll wrap it up. Again, this week seems a little light on like marquee matchups, but sometimes it's these weeks that end up being like, man, it's wild. There's a bunch of like crazy upsets, really tight games. So I remember, I think it was just last year where it was week 2, if memory serves me right, where we kind of went into the week saying like, yeah, it seems like it's kind of going to be a sleepy week, and all of a sudden you had all kinds of madness happening. So uh, I'm not sleeping on any week. It's going to be one thing where it's like always pay attention to it. But again, if there's a few things that you got to do around the house or something, this might be your time to do it. But stay close to your phone.
Yeah,
Um,
pray to the upset gods that things happen and get crazy.
there you go.
The
There
one
you
thing
go.
about this is like you don't have any major teams playing as many minor teams, so you maybe have like more middling. Like, oh, that team beating that team, I didn't expect that. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It'll be fun. Looking forward to another week. Again, feel free to like and comment and subscribe, or follow. On the
Give
various
us your
social
predictions. Tell
platforms.
us where we're wrong.
Yeah, feel free to jump in. Let us know your predictions of how poorly our picks are going to go or how well they're going to go. If you're on board with us, really excited to see this moving forward. But appreciate all the support, and we will see you for our week 3 review next week.